Hola amigos, ¿qué más pues? Saludos desde Medellín. Hoy el tema es otro pensamiento con el tipo de textos para leer y cómo puede ayudar en diferentes formas. So here we are again in Medellín. A splendid evening today, a bit cooler, thankfully. So the theme today, I'm going to reflect a bit on types of reading and how different ones of these can be helpful. Now, you might know I've just finished doing a course. I took up a course in Spanish recently, not to teach me Spanish, but a course that was in Spanish to help me practice. And I deliberately picked a topic that I knew something about. It's like a type of job I'd done before, because I figured, well, that would help me because I understand the topic in English. So really, this is just a case of seeing how this is expressed in Spanish. And I was right. In that sense, it wasn't too bad. There wasn't a lot of words I needed to look up, and generally reading a lot of the texts, once you got into them, yeah, you could follow the argument fairly well because, again, it's something fairly familiar. In contrast to that, alongside doing the course, I decided to borrow a different book from the library. So I borrowed a novel that I know very well in English. I think it's one I've done a reading of here on the channel. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, which is a very short book. And I thought, that'd be fine. That's a good place to start. I know the book really well. It's one of my favourites. But reading it in Spanish was nearly impossible. It was quite a shock because, here we go, I have a book I understand really well, and honestly the only reason I knew what I was reading about was because I'd already read it many times in English. But when I switched straight from that book to go and read some what basically were academic papers on topics about sales motivation and how to be a better service provider in that type of industry, it wasn't so bad. There are a few words I needed to look up, but I was a bit more familiar with some of the topic, but equally I knew the plot in Ray Bradbury's book, so how was this so different? Well, I think really this is the thing with literature and poetry and that type of writing. Very descriptive and a bit more symbolic. I think that's the problem, or the difficulty in this case. That's what takes it to a different level. Now, it's not to say that type of writing isn't very helpful for us, because I think sometimes it is. Some of the readings I've done on this channel recently, one I did the other day, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's book, it's translated into English, but that's just a nice descriptive piece. But that's really helpful for the voice, that's helpful for the pronunciation, helps you, speak different words. So it's more to do with that. Had I read Bradbury's book in Spanish for that purpose, to help me practice my pronunciation, it would have been okay, because I don't necessarily need to understand all of it in the sense of word for word, how do I translate this sentence. I can just use it to practice it as a way to practice the voice. But as a way of practicing or improving my vocabulary or my comprehension, no, that was very difficult. The other texts, the more, let's say, slightly drier, more academic type journalism, if you want, was actually a bit easier. So there we go. That's an interesting thought. Yeah. Perhaps some of the more journalistic type writing maybe might help us more when we're trying just to improve vocabulary for our understanding, and perhaps, at least at the beginning, the more literary type texts, the novels, the poems, these kind of things, are perhaps best left as an exercise in voice rather than comprehension. But let me know what your experience of that is. Perhaps you think, no, Graham, no, I've got a favourite book that I like rereading and it's fine. I hope so. That'd be great. Déjame saber en los comentarios. But for the moment, that's my reflection on the day. So I've gone back now and I picked a different book from the library. I'm now reading a book about world history. Reading that's a bit easier, at least on the comprehension part of it, in terms of vocabulary. I haven't tried reading it aloud yet. Perhaps I'll give an experiment on that, see how easy that is to do. But anyway, that's the reflection on the day. Depending on what you're reading, maybe it might be more useful for one type of practice than another. So see what you think. That's the tip for today. So for the moment, we shall say Cheerio from Medellin. I'll see you tomorrow.